Today we're going to go over Psycho-Cybernetics, the second chapter. The chapter isn't necessarily something that is super important. There's parts of it that I think are super fascinating, but overall it's set up like the first chapter, like the preface. I promise you soon we're going to get into the really interesting stuff when it comes to this book, but yeah, hopefully I can steer you to the most important parts. Certainly the end of this chapter is the most important because these are the exercises that you're told to do, the exercises that you're told to meditate on and think about. And they're very transformative, so stick around to the end to get that information. But here we go. The second chapter, discovering the success mechanism within you. So essentially what this is talking about is there's a difference between human beings and animals. And the difference is that animals, their sole existence is to live, whereas human beings kind of already have that satisfied. Like, we don't really need to fight for survival. Like, even in some of the worst parts of the world, it's not like we're fighting for survival like it is in the wild. We're at least a little bit better off. And now we're kind of focused on success. We're focused on expanding our power, as Nietzsche would say, the will to power, kind of exacting your will upon everything else around you, kind of, being able to control the world as you see fit. And essentially what the rest of the chapter talks about is the idea that everyone kind of has this hardwired idea about themselves, and these ideas about themselves is really what allows them to think, really what allows them to handle their problems. And essentially what it says is there's the active mind and then there's the passive mind. I know this is very overgeneralizing the chapter, but I really just want to get to the end of it. So here we go. The active mind is the things that you know. So like, you know how to tie your shoe. Like if you tried to ask me how to tie my shoe, I couldn't explain it. I just know how to do it. There's certain things like that that's just definite. And then there's the creative mind, the passive mind, the mind that's like, you know what, I'm given this unique circumstance. I kind of think it's this way, and then you get the right answer. It's trusting your intuition. It's trusting your higher faculties, your creative faculties. And essentially what this book is emphasizing is it's the people that can combine both that are very successful, that are able to do things that other people are not. And how do we activate our creative mind? How do we activate our passive mind? And it's simply just believing that you can before you can do it. I know the book doesn't really concretely say this, but essentially this is what it's trying to say. Like, I don't know if you ever do anything creative, but whenever I do something creative, whenever I start to write something, I already have an end goal in mind. I already feel like I've already done it, because if you go into something believing that you can't do it, then you closed your mind off to it. And especially when you're working with your creative faculties, especially when you're working with the expressive faculties, you really need to believe that you're worthy of it, because otherwise it's not going to be possible. There's a part in this book, specifically in this chapter, that says somebody that believes they can do it is already 50% of the way to doing it. And I need you to understand it's the same way with creativity. It's the same way with tasks that you don't quite have the answer for right now, but you trust your intuition. You trust that if you put in the work, if you put in the time, it will unfold. And essentially that's really what this chapter is talking about. And it's talking about the idea that we all have this machine, and this machine dictates how we deal with every single scenario. And this machine is programmed based off of everything we accept about ourselves, everything that we've been told. And because we have this machine, it responds to the stimulus that we are given in front of us. But if we change the machine, then we can change how we respond. Essentially, that's what this chapter says. And now we'll get into the most interesting part of this chapter, because I think it kind of repeats a lot of the same stuff that's been said already in this book. And I think it, kind of goes into too much detail. I guess the way I summarized it is not quite, I was trying to stall while I was flipping through the pages. But the way I was summarizing it's not quite like very concrete. And if you're in a book, obviously you want to explain in more detail. But that's basically how I took everything. So now we get into the practice exercise number 1. Get a new mental picture of yourself. The unhappy failure type personality cannot develop a new self-image by pure willpower or by arbitrary deciding to. Think about people that are like, woe is me, I can't fix this, I can't do this. No matter what, they come up with an excuse. And in some regard, we're all this way about certain subjects, about certain aspects of our lives. And the moment you recognize it, the moment you recognize that you're getting in your own way, that's really the first step. There must be some grounds, some justification, some reason for deciding that the old picture of self is in error and that the new picture is appropriate. You cannot merely imagine a new self-image unless you felt that it is based upon truth. Experience has shown that when a person does change his self-image, he has the feeling that for one reason or another he sees or realizes the truth about himself. So essentially what it's saying is you're denying reality and seeing the possibility. And I think that's a big step for so many people, because before you can do it, you have to see it in your head. Everything that you see around you was first a figment of the imagination and then was then carried out into reality. And when you understand this principle, then you understand how anything gets done in this world. And if you continue to visualize a negative self-image, if you continue to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm a loser, I'm this, I'm that, you're just confirming to your future self that that's who you're going to be. The truth in this chapter can set you free of an old, inadequate self-image. If you read it often, think intently about the implications, and hammer home its truth to yourself. Science has now confirmed what philosophers, mystics, and other intuitive people have long declared. Every human being has been literally engineered for success by his creator. Every human being has access to a power greater than himself. This means you. Essentially what he's saying is creativity. Essentially what he's saying is if you listen to your creative faculties, then you can do anything that you set your mind to. Which is purely true. If you trust your intuition, if you trust your ability to respond to an issue, respond to a problem, and you carry out that plan and you don't allow anything to seep in, you don't allow anything to discourage you, and you do that for years upon years upon years, I don't care what your goal is, you're going to do it. But it's just the fact that we distract ourselves. It's the fact that we allow doubt to set in and we stop really pushing. We stop really listening to that voice in the back of our head that says we can do it. We start listening to the other voice that says, you're a loser, you're this, you're that. You start listening to the people in your life that say, well, nobody else has done it, so that means you can't do it. And the truth is, everything has to be done by someone first before anyone believes it to be possible. As Emerson has said, there are no great and no small. If you were engineered for success and happiness, then the old picture of yourself as unworthy of happiness of a person who was meant to fail must be in error. Read this chapter through at least 3 times per week for the first 21 days. Study it and digest it. Look for examples in your experience and experience your friends which illustrate the creative mechanism in action. Whenever a book tells me to do something, I don't usually do it. I think it's all up to the way you interpret these ideas. So like what it just said, like the suggestion to recognize the fact that you can determine your future based off of the stimulus in your self-image. I think that's a very important idea that's echoed through a million other books. And if you want to do these exercises, if you want to really carry these things out, they can be beneficial, but it's also just something that's kind of natural and intuitive when you really ingrain these thoughts. So I don't necessarily say you have to. It could definitely benefit you, but it's not something I do. Memorize the following basic principles by which your success mechanism operates. You do not need to be an electronic engineer or physicist to operate your own servo mechanism any more than you have to be able to engineer an automobile in order to drive one, or become an electrical engineer in order to turn on the light in your room. You do not need to be familiar with the following, however, because having memorized them, they will throw new light on what is to follow. Number 1, your built-in success mechanism must have a goal or target. This goal or target must be conceived of as already in existence now, either in actual or potential form. It operates by either 1, steering you to a goal already in existence, or by 2, discovering something already in existence. What he's saying is living in the end. As Neville Goddard says, when you imagine yourself to already be capable of what you want, to already have what you want, then you think and act like someone that already has that. And, think about you go into an experience and you already have experience. You've already done it before. You're that much more prepared. Essentially, that's what this is saying. It's like you act as if you have already experienced this thing, so that you're someone who has done it, and you're thinking like someone who has done it versus thinking like a complete newbie. I feel like we've all started something new that we just suck at, and then we see somebody that's done it for years upon years upon years, and we just see their level of proficiency and how much better it is. This is essentially the idea of faking it till you make it. Faking the idea that you're better than you are right now until you get to that point. This is the idea of confidence. Like you're a little bit more capable than you actually are, and that little bit more of capability pushes you to keep getting better and better and better and better and better. 2. The automatic mechanism is teleological. That is, operates or must be oriented to end results, goals. Do not be discouraged because the means whereby may not be apparent. It is the function of the automatic mechanism to supply the means whereby when you supply the goal. Think in terms of the end result, and the means whereby will often take care of themselves. Essentially what he's saying is, if you don't see a possibility of things happening, that doesn't mean they're not going to happen. You know what I mean? You can't control every circumstance in life. You can't control luck. You can't control destiny. And certain things will just happen when they happen. And it's like, if you're out here trying to dictate the circumstances, then you're out here basically trying to, reverse the polarity of Earth. Like, you're doing something that's just so impossible that it's never going to be done. But if you just allow yourself to be patient, allow the things to come to you, allow the opportunities to come, and you do the right work, it's going to show up one day. But the moment that you start saying, well, it's going to happen this way, it's going to happen this way, if it doesn't happen this way, then it's not possible. That's when you start falling victim to that doubt, that seed of anxiety that grows and gets you far away from what it is that you're doing. Like I said something earlier in this video. If you believe that you can do something and you carry out the results, if you keep taking the right steps, taking the right action, eventually it's going to happen. But when you stop doing that, when you stop embodying this identity, that's when you get far away from what it is that you're trying to do. 3. Do not be afraid of making mistakes or temporary failures. All servo mechanisms achieve a goal by negative feedback or going forward, making mistakes and immediately correcting course. Learn from your mistakes. That's all this is saying. 4. Skill learning of any kind is accomplished by trial and error, mentally correcting aim after error until successful motion, movement, or performance has been achieved. After that, further learning and continuous success is accomplished by forgetting the past errors and remembering the successful response so that it can be imitated. Don't linger on your failures. Learn from them and move on and keep going forward. Don't be discouraged by them. Take everything as a learning lesson. 5. You must learn to try your creative mechanisms to do its work and not jam it by becoming too concerned or too anxious as to whether it will work or not by attempting to force it by too much conscious effort. You must let it work rather than make it work. This trust isn't necessary because your creative mechanisms operate below the level of consciousness and you cannot know what is going on beneath the surface. Moreover, it is nature to operate spontaneously according to the present need. Therefore, you have no guarantees in advance. It comes into operation as you act and as you place a demand upon it by your actions. You must not wait to act until you have proof. You must act as if it is there and it will come through. Do the thing and you will have the power, said Emerson. Okay, that's a perfect way to end it. What he's talking about at the end is creativity. It's I think creativity is something that we kind of put very low in terms of societal importance and things that are emphasized, especially in the school system. The school system is kind of invented to breed out creativity and make somebody that's just a good employee, not a great employee. And essentially what he's saying is like, there's not really a limit to creativity, and creativity doesn't really act in ways that you can even explain. Like when you listen to a song from Sinatra, is it a song or is it something more? Does it speak to your heart or is it just a set of words, put to a beat? And essentially this is what it's talking about. Like, you have to trust something. You have to just believe that what you're doing will eventually pay off, because the moment that you don't believe in it is the moment that it becomes forced, the moment that it becomes something for the sake of something. Like, think about the guy that does charity because he wants the reputation that it brings him, not the person that does charity of the goodness of their heart. It's that idea. It's like you're doing something because you love doing it. You're writing because you love writing. You're singing because you love singing. Versus the people that do something purely for the ends, purely for the thing that they are chasing. And it's that level of authenticity that's going to bleed through with your work. It's the level of authenticity that is going to be essential to your success. Because let's face it, we live in a very inauthentic world. We live in a world purely driven by profit, not driven by anything of substance. And if you provide something of substance to this world, I don't care what it is, it's eventually going to shine through and it's eventually going to get the level of recognition, the level of success that you want. And it's only a matter of time. With that said, that is the second chapter of Psycho-Cybernetics. I think I did a much better job of summarizing it this time, and I think I did a much better job of going through the finer details. Hopefully the rest of the book is set up in this way so that I can kind of brush through the beginning, get to the end, get to the main points, and talk about them because I thought that was really fun to go through. But yeah, if you are liking these videos so far, stay tuned for some more of them. I may or may not link the two that I did before this. I'll try to make a playlist, but I'm going to forget, so just get on me if you want me to make a playlist where it's all in the same thing. But yeah, love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. If you want the stuff I write, go ahead, join my school community. If you don't, then just keep watching the videos. I don't know what to tell you guys. I love you guys no matter what, no matter how much you support me. Even if you don't like me, I still love you. With that said, catch you guys in the next one.